Come, let us explore how meditation tames fear, but not how you think. Together, as a team, let us relaxingly recite the 25th passage of Prahivajra's vast expanse of the diamond-like mind. We can do this 4 repetitions, and in between each recitation, I can explain the opening proposition. Together. Present bliss and later bliss are what is directly experienced and what ensues from it. Since they imply the defect of an aspect of our ground or Buddha nature, one should not rely on them. Okay, so let's begin with first principles. Present bliss and later bliss is a reference to cause and effect. And so this is what I like to call sanctimonious karma, where people say, and understandably say, I like pleasure, I hate pain, therefore I'm going to do things to ensure I only experience pleasure and never experience pain. So from a certain perspective, this makes perfect sense. Allow me to remind you, Sturgeon's law teaches that 90% of everything sucks, including humans. What could that suckiness look like? It could look like Yang's religious or irreligious patriarchy, wherein we are taught to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. When we are saying, I'm going to refrain from that because I'm scared of punishment, and I'm going to do that because I desire reward, that's not love. That's being driven by greed and fear, like a cork tossed by the waves of an angry sea. So a reasonable response to that would be, well, am I supposed to go around and like little bunny foo-foo scooping up field mice and bopping them on the head? And the answer is, when we practice mindfulness and meditation authentically, it will calm our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression, and it will stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus. I guess I'd diagram it might be helpful. So when we practice mindfulness and meditation correctly, in cooperation with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, we calm our amygdala, which is the seat of anxiety and aggression, and we stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus to the point that our choices, utterances, and deeds begin to flow, not from fear, not from greed, not from scatteredness, but from a special type of spontaneity, one that is centered and love and peace. So we no longer have to think manipulatively and connive and say what's best for me in the short term and the long term. We can just flow from love's centered spontaneity. Now let's recite the 25th passage a second time. Present bliss and later bliss are what is directly experienced and what ensues from it. Since they imply the defect of an aspect of our ground or Buddha nature, one should not rely on them. So, according to the great Gyatso Rinpoche, the fundamental duality addressed by the Buddha was that of dread and desire, fear and hope, pushing and pulling. You get the basic idea. The author of this text reminds us that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever duality of pain or pleasure we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of just sensation or just emotion. We still feel emotions, we still feel sensations. But by relaxing into their ultimate non-duality, we are less neurotic about it. We still feel the full spectrum of emotions and sensations. So we're not lying to ourselves. But we are less neurotic about it. That's the peace the Buddha offers us. Not peace from the presence of pain, but freedom from its tyranny, so that the fear of pain no longer controls our choices, utterances, and deeds. And instead we hand that over to the mechanism latent within our autonomic nervous system, the mechanism that helps us to access our prefrontal cortex in the most sustainable way, a way that is so subtle it might even feel like intuition. In fact, it could even be argued the difference between reason and intuition, true intuition, is simply a question of whether we're using the same part of the brain actively or passively. And when we use the front of our brain actively, it triggers our amygdala. When we use it passively and gently, it's sustainable. Let's continue. Third repetition. Present bliss and later bliss are what is directly experienced and what ensues from it. Since they imply the defect of an aspect of our ground or Buddha nature, one should not rely on them. What is meant by our ground or Buddha nature? Buddha nature is nothing mysterious. It's simply a quaint Iron Age way of describing three things. Number one, every time we inhale, we are wired to access our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord, which has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, which is the opposite of concentration. Number two, Buddha nature could refer to the fact that every time we exhale, we are wired to automatically access the parasympathetic nervous system, which is divided between the lower third and the upper third of the same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. 3. As I mentioned previously, just a few moments ago, the more we rely and cooperate with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, the more we stimulate the anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of empathy. So our Buddha nature refers to the seat of mindfulness, the seat of meditation, and the seat of empathy. It's just that simple. There's a horrible phrase. I learned it when I was in my late teens, early 20s. You've probably heard this too. If it's to be, it's up to me. That is the anthem of those who are acquiescing to their controlling tendencies. So on one hand, we have people saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. And on the other hand, we have people saying, dude, lovingly go with the flow. We can be like the Big Lebowski, or we can be like the dude. Let's be like the dude. Now, if we use the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to lovingly go with the flow, are we always going to get what we want when we want it for as long as we want it? No, no. Every infant learns that they're not going to get everything they want when they want it for as long as they want it. It's part of growing up. But will our lives be filled with greater peace and greater love and greater fulfillment by lovingly going with the flow? Yeah, sure, you betcha. So this brings us to this morning's final recitation of this practice, of the passage. Present bliss and later bliss are what is directly experienced and what ensues from it. We talked about taming fear, fear of not getting what we want, the frustration of greed, fear of enduring what we don't want, the fear of suffering. Since they imply the defect of an aspect of our ground or Buddha nature, one should not rely on them. How do we take fear out of the driver's seat? How do we stop fear from pulling the puppet strings of our choices, utterances, and deeds? By noticing and relaxing in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation. Or to put it even more succinctly, by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel air enter our nostrils, and silently as well as mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. That is how we don't eradicate fear, but indeed tame it from its position of tyrant to that of merely tool. Because when it comes to survival, fear is useful. If you are protecting children from an attacking bear, fear can prompt you to buy those children time to run away, which is what it has evolved to do. It's one of the reasons we are a successful species. Fear is an excellent tool, a terrible tyrant. We dethrone fear through mindfulness and meditation. Having completed this morning's opening lesson, it's time for us to shift gears. It is Rey Skywalker Sunday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation, so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We turn our attention now to the latest iteration of Very Easy Meditation Practice Text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. We open the practice by bringing the 4 bases of mindfulness into the path of the wisdom of letting go. Look at it. Whoops, come on, machine. Don't fail me now. Whoops, come on. Well, really having troubles here with... Okay, excellent. Please chat with me. The circumstantial could be seen yet ever changing. The circumstantial could be seen yet ever changing. The circumstantial could be seen yet ever changing. The interpersonal could be heard yet ever changing. The interpersonal could be heard yet ever changing. The interpersonal could be heard yet ever changing. The mental could be lucid yet ever changing. The mental could be lucid yet ever changing. The mental could be lucid yet ever changing. The physical could be sensual yet ever changing. The physical could be sensual yet ever changing. The physical could be sensual yet ever changing. We come now to the first collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations. Upon the creases of our right hand, we could count 12 inhalations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Upon the creases of our left hand, we could count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But how can we count multiple collections of 12 sets of 12 inhalations? This is how we keep track of the first collection. On the tip of our left ring finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, palms up in our lap. How do we keep track of our second collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations? Simple. Upon the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. We could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel air enter our nostrils. We could silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. Because every time we inhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. And every time we exhale, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, we are wired to physically relax and mentally release to set up that which we noticed during our previous inhalation to such a degree that it could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. To keep track of our third collection of 4 sets of 12 inhalations. Upon the tips of each of our left fingers, we could rest the great knuckles at the base of each of our right fingers, palms up in our lap. We come to our fourth and final collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations. Upon the tip of our left index finger, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. We can close this morning's practice by bringing the four bases of mindfulness into the path of loving kindness. What follows are not prayers to a real or imagined celestial entity. They're just reflecting us using words to guide our own intention upon a path of empathy. Together. May all forms be lavish with blissful health. May all forms be lavish with blissful health. May all forms be lavish with blissful health. May all minds be lavish with wisdom, joy. May all minds be lavish with wisdom, joy. May all minds be lavish with wisdom, joy. May all relationships be lavish with peaceful love. May all relationships be lavish with peaceful love. May all relationships be lavish with peaceful love. May all circumstances be lavish with safety and good fortune. May all circumstances be lavish with safety and good fortune. May all circumstances be lavish with safety and good fortune. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class, as well as group practice. If you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.